Wow, stories.
Am I the idiot for being furious at my husband for posing with my friend? On our wedding day, my partner, 44-year-old male, and I, 36-year-old female, recently got married. We've been through a lot together in a relatively short time, but we've managed to work through most of our issues. One of the root causes is his thoughtlessness in words and actions and my insecurity. This is his second marriage and my first, though I was in a long-term relationship before. We both have kids from these prior relationships. There have been a lot of complications, as happens when you team up later in life. And for the most part, we've navigated these issues as thoughtfully as possible. We are very conscious of making the kids feel at ease, and I'm proud to say that it has gone very well. He is kind and clever, and I love being with him. However, there are things I have a very hard time letting go of, and they have to do with boundaries. In his previous relationship, there was a very distinct lack of boundaries, which carried over into our relationship. Think open marriage, group intimacy, deep codependency, his ex's alcoholism, his ex cheating, not knowing if he was his child's father, and a whole bunch of other stuff. He feels a lot of shame for a lot of these, as they go against his moral beliefs, and has been to therapy to resolve his feelings. In the meantime, he has said and done things towards me that, to me, are very disrespectful. I explain, and he usually sees where I'm coming from and uses the words, "I didn't realize," or "I didn't mean to hurt you," which I believe, but it's gotten really old. I am tired of being hurt because he doesn't stop to think things through, and the latest made me incredibly upset. On our wedding day, he posed with my single and very attractive friend for a photo booth picture, where he is carrying her in his arms, bridal style. I asked him why, and he said they were just goofing around. I asked if he would like it if I jumped into another man's arms, and whether that was the sort of relationship he wanted. He said no. It may seem like a small thing, but he should know me well enough through our countless conversations about boundaries that this is not acceptable to me, especially on our wedding day. We are on our honeymoon, and I just want to go home. I don't really want to be here, and I guess I'm just trying to gain some perspective. Thanks for reading all this. Now for an update. People here are painting a picture of an hurtful and/or neglectful man and a victimized or just plain dumb woman. And it's really frustrating. Neither of those are true. I was in a long-term hurtful relationship, and I know all about people with personality disorders and all that. Comes with being close to them firsthand. This is not the case here, and if it were, a lot of people's comments here would only make it worse. People in hurtful relationships already feel stupid and ashamed to have gotten themselves into such a situation, and leaving is both difficult and dangerous. I would highly suggest you show more care when giving advice in delicate situations in the future, even if it is a faceless stranger on the internet. Your judgmental stance is really unhelpful to anyone, really. On the other hand, I feel deep gratitude to the people who gave sound advice and took time to respond in a thoughtful way. My sincere thanks to all of you three. I am not perfect, and it took me a long time to put my trust in another human again. He is not perfect either, and well, as for our marriage, we will see. I'm not from the United States, and we don't have annulments in my country. Divorce isn't as complicated here, though, and there were prenuptials in place that safeguard either of us from taking anything from the other that was not legally ours before, mostly because of hereditary laws. My children will ultimately inherit what is mine and his what is his. We both agreed this was fair and logical. I have asked that we both go back to therapy as individuals and as a couple, and he agrees. He also is going to see a specialist about what may be attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Still digesting this, still mad and sad about it. Not letting it slide or closing my eyes and pretending nothing is wrong. Not sure what will happen, except that I'm going to focus on myself to ascertain what is best for me. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think this is a wake-up call for introspection on why, despite knowing all of these unhealed things in him, you chose to tether your life and future to someone with visible red flags. I certainly don't judge you, but gently encourage you to explore the dynamics of this relationship as it pertains to areas within yourself that you need additional light shed. You are not a rehabilitation center for a broken man, nor a band-aid for his pain. You deserve so much more. Comment 2. This man sounds so disrespectful on so many levels that I don't see how the good could outweigh the bad. Honestly, how do you remember your wedding day with joy after this? You keep telling him, and yet he still keeps repeating the same errors. He's choosing not to learn. You could try therapy, but he has to want to change. And frankly, he's shown he doesn't. Now for the update. Thank you for all the thoughtful comments and advice. After we got back from our honeymoon, things were tense. We both went back to therapy, as planned, and he started seeing a specialist about his potential ADHD. The first few sessions were eye-opening for him. He realized that his impulsive actions, like the photo booth incident, might be linked to his ADHD. It was a relief to have a possible explanation, but it didn't erase the hurt. I was still struggling with my feelings about the wedding day and his past behaviors. One evening, about 2 weeks after our return, I found an old letter in his desk drawer while looking for some paperwork. It was from his ex, written during their marriage. The letter was filled with apologies and promises to change. But what struck me was the mention of a specific incident where she had cheated on him with one of his friends. This was something he had never told me about. I confronted him, and he admitted that he had kept it from me because he was ashamed and didn't want to relive the pain. This revelation added another layer to my understanding of his past and his actions. Around the same time, my ex-partner reached out to discuss some issues regarding our children. He had heard about my recent marriage and wanted to ensure that our kids were adjusting well. This conversation brought back a lot of old feelings and memories. My ex and I had a tumultuous relationship, and his sudden concern felt intrusive. I realized that I hadn't fully dealt with the emotional baggage from that relationship, and it was affecting my current marriage. My partner and I had a long talk about boundaries and trust. He apologized again for the photo booth incident and for not being more open about his past. We decided to set some new boundaries to help rebuild trust. For example, we agreed to be more transparent about our pasts and to avoid situations that could lead to misunderstandings. This was a step in the right direction, but it was clear that we had a lot of work to do. A few days later, my partner's ex called him in a panic. Their child had been acting out at school, and she didn't know how to handle it. My partner felt obligated to help, but I was uncomfortable with the idea of him spending time with her. We discussed it, and he assured me that his priority was our family. He suggested that we all meet with a family therapist to address the issues together. This was a difficult decision, but I agreed, hoping it would help us all move forward. During our first family therapy session, a lot of emotions came to the surface. His ex was still struggling with her alcoholism, and their child was caught in the middle. The therapist suggested that we all work together to create a stable environment for the child. This meant setting clear boundaries and communicating openly. It was a challenging process, but it also brought us closer as a family. Meanwhile, my own therapy sessions were helping me understand my insecurities and how they were affecting my marriage. I realized that I had been projecting my fears from my past relationship onto my partner. This was unfair to him and to our relationship. I started working on building my self-esteem and learning to trust again. One evening, while we were having dinner, my partner mentioned that he had been offered a promotion at work. This was great news, but it also meant longer hours and more travel. I was worried that this would put more strain on our already fragile relationship. We talked about it and decided that he would take the promotion, but we would make a conscious effort to spend quality time together and keep our communication strong. As the weeks went by, we slowly started to rebuild our relationship. We had our ups and downs, but we were committed to making it work. One night, while we were watching a movie, he turned to me and said, "I know I've made mistakes, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. I love you, and I don't want to lose you." His words brought tears to my eyes, and I realized that despite everything, I still loved him too. We continued our therapy sessions and worked on our communication. We also started going on regular date nights to reconnect and enjoy each other's company. It wasn't always easy, but we were making progress. Our children were adjusting well, and we were becoming a stronger family unit. Looking back, I can see how far we've come. We still have a long way to go, but I'm hopeful for the future. We've learned a lot about ourselves and each other, and we're committed to building a healthy, loving relationship.